couple seats over here, so linger on in.
Yes, please, one chair.
So thank you everyone for coming. It's just really great to see such a vibrant crowd at this reading. We all really appreciate it. My name is Kirk Walsh, and I was the instructor for this 9-month workshop. And I also, before we get started, just want to thank Malvern Books for hosting us tonight. I encourage you after the reading to, take a look at the stacks, and they have great cards, and maybe buy something to support them and what they're doing here in the literary community in Austin. So tonight, reading is of the writers who participated in my 9-month workshop. And so we started on September 8th of last year, and this dedicated group of fiction writers has been gathering together on Monday evenings to discuss, critique, and debate plot, pacing, point of view, dialogue structure, and other elements of craft in their work and others. We have discussed multiple authors and books, including Jenny Offel, Ann Carson, Peter Cameron, Jessamine Ward, Elena Ferrante, and others. We have shared in many minor and major victories in the creative process. We have laughed and encouraged and cheered. Mostly, we have inspired each other. And now it's your turn to be inspired by all of them and their writing. So, what I'm going to do, we're going to have 6 readers, and then we're going to have a break to stand up quickly and get something to drink, and then come back, and then we'll have 5 more readers. So our first reader is Catherine Moore. Catherine Moore is a writer and editor and a graduate of the MFA writing program at the University of Houston. She is currently at work on a novel titled The Popes of Austin. Please help me welcome Kat.
This is an excerpt from my book that is the story of a grandparents couple, and the grandmother has cancer, and the grandfather has given her an overdose of morphine, and he has been arrested, and they are the guardians of their grandchild. And she was going to be taken into social services, and she ran away from the house, and she spent the night in the park, and she's come back the next morning. And this is the next morning. When she turned off her own fan, the one by her bed, stacked up on her library books, the silence of the house was too much. She wanted to hear something, so she wished for something. Winnie imagined, hard, that Mimi's voice was floating up the stairs now, sticking in Winnie's mind. "Winnie, darling, it's time for breakfast. I've made pancakes. Bring down your laundry, honey. It's Saturday." Winnie got up from her bed and looked at her room. In the corner was her writing desk that had a pull-down front. Pawpaw had said it was her mother's, but she never used it. Mimi told Winnie that there was a time, long ago, when Carrie Ann, her mom, was just a girl, but she was good. A real good girl, right as rain, Mimi would say. Sometimes, when Winnie was fresh out of the pool or a shower, when her hair was all wet, Mimi would stare long and hard at Winnie. "You have the look of your mother, you know. It's the shape of your head, a perfectly shaped head, like a mannequin. Your mother had that same look." Winnie had cut pictures out from magazines and taped them to the wall next to the desk, places she and Pawpaw had been and places they were going to go to. And on her chest of drawers was her snow globe collection. She had one from New Orleans and one from the Texas State Fair, even one from Big Bend. Mimi always laughed at the ones from their Texas trips, because it never snowed in Texas, at least where they had been. In the middle of the room, hanging around the light, was the whole solar system. She had made the planets with her best friend Ricky for their science project 2 years ago. He let her keep them after they'd won second place, because she'd done most of the work. Boys aren't that good working with plaster of Paris. Ricky got it all over his legs and in his hair because he would pop the balloons before they would dry. Mimi had string and some tacks, and they had hung the planets up in the exact order and elliptical patterns. Winnie was proud of winning second place, and the top 3 winners got to go to the citywide competition. She and Ricky didn't win, but Ricky's mom had taken them out to celebrate for the premiere of the Star Wars movie at the Paramount Theater, and she'd fallen in love with Han Solo that very afternoon. Her Star Wars poster was over her bed and had little hearts next to Han's face. Ricky teased her about it, but she didn't care. Han was her hero. Now the rings of Saturn were almost gone, disintegrated with the summer heat, but you could still see their orange paint. And above her, she saw the faint globs of the old glow-in-the-dark stickers that she'd been stuck up for 4 years. There's some good glue on them damn things, Pawpaw had said. Winnie had ripped out an ad from the Highlights magazine at the doctor's office, and Mimi had written a check and mailed it off to the address listed, and when they never told Pawpaw. He thought ads in magazines were all placed by charlatans trying to steal your cash. And when the stars came, he found out where they had come from. He turned beet red, but Mimi made her face, pressing her lips so tight together that her mouth disappeared. Winnie gave me that money for the stars, and I wrote the check. It was her idea and her money. And here they are, just like the ad said. Quit your griping. Winnie and Mimi had taken all of her star books and researched together what the night sky would look like in West Texas in the springtime. They found what they needed in a brochure that Winnie had kept from their trip from the McDonald's Observatory. Mimi took the brochure and laid it out on the bed, and with her oldest pair of sewing scissors, she cut out the stars and spread them out into a bigger version. Winnie could see Mimi's hands, her fingers interlaced in the holes. She knew just where to cut. We have to make it exactly like we saw it that night. Start with Polaris, draw a line down to the Big Dipper, use the pointer stars to jump over to Leo, make the sickle there, and now we can make Big Bear. Mimi was very exact with all kinds of patterns and rules about things. Everything had to be just so. She'd had the great idea to make marks on the ceilings with a pencil first before they put the stars up. And in the end, the whole ceiling glowed like a spring night. When she was 8 or 9, Mimi would come in and lay with her in the bed and name the constellations, and then they would tell their stories about the Greeks that had made them up. The stars looked yellow now in the morning light. Her wet swimsuit and towel were crumpled in a heap at the end of the bed from yesterday. Yesterday was so far away. That wasn't right. Her clothes were still wet. Those wet things could not have been from the day before, when Papa had said she could ride her bike with her friends to the springs. Yesterday, she'd beaten Ricky in the butterfly race and swam further underwater holding her breath. That was just yesterday. She had no time to hang them up in the bathroom like she was supposed to. Getting out of that window and away from that social worker was the most important thing Winnie had to do yesterday. A hollow feeling came into the back of her throat, and she grabbed her suit and wet towel and like a bullet rushed into the bathroom and hung them up. She washed her face with soap and brushed her teeth. The dentist had found 2 cavities back in March, and Mimi had made her promise to brush for 2 minutes morning and night. She turned over her sand timer like the one from The Wizard of Oz, and it took 2 minutes, enough time to keep the cavities at bay. It felt a bit babyish to use the sand timer when he hated to brush her teeth. And a promise is a promise. But what about promises to dead people?